Hi guys! What is the most overlooked part of avoiding the dietary pleasure trap in the modern world? If you're new here, the pleasure trap is a concept by Dr. Doug Lisle and Dr. Alan Goldhammer, the authors of the book called The Pleasure Trap. In short, modern highly processed foods like flour products, fried foods, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, gambling, porn, etc. are an invention of the modern world, which these authors call the pleasure trap. But in this video, I'll exclusively talk about the dietary pleasure trap. If you're interested to learn more about the pleasure trap, I'll link some videos in the show notes. When we decide to eat healthy in the modern world, we completely go against our instincts because our instincts, or better say, our nervous system, is designed to reach out for the highest calorie-dense foods in the environment. This was never a problem because processed foods were unavailable and rich foods like meat or nuts were only available occasionally. But nowadays we face the complete opposite. Rich food is available at every corner. Dr. Lisle says that we have to work harder on our environment than on ourselves when managing the dietary pleasure trap. In terms of our food supply, our Western world is dominated by hyper-palatable foods loaded with sugar, oil, and salt. The acronym is SOS. Indeed, it reflects that we desperately need help with that modern world problem. Let's face the truth, it's a dilemma. Because highly processed foods loaded with sugar, oil, and salt are available dominantly in every grocery store and restaurant. A large number of our diseases, sicknesses, and obesity epidemic comes from those foods. So the concept of the pleasure trap has been known for over more than 20 years, but for people it's as sexy as the Michelin Man. Only a small group of conscientious people who have crossed this message, like you, have found their long-awaited answer to why it is so hard to live and eat healthy in the modern world. But still, only knowledge is not enough. Many of those people deal with a lot of day-to-day hurdles, and to be honest, the majority of people don't want to hear that we can't have the food, drugs, and alcohol anymore that we people consume on a daily basis as if it's the most normal thing in the world. This is a modern world problem. In order to beat that beast, everybody in the Western world should start to go completely against their instincts. This means avoiding all processed foods and going back to the diet closest to our ancestors' ate. People will call you insane if you do that. And this is exactly the crux of the matter. In my opinion, the most overlooked part of avoiding the dietary pleasure trap in the modern world is other people. For example, the pressure of other people to eat unhealthy foods as they do. People who score high on the Big 5 personality test in disagreeableness have an easier time saying no to things like, I will not eat that junk food you prepared just for me. Sorry. I hear it from my clients over and over again who have jobs that involve business lunch meetings and there is no healthy food around, and that they dread this meeting days and weeks before. Did you notice something? We talk here about food. This should be the most normal thing in the world. We have never faced the problem of avoiding unhealthy food that is not good for us in history. Unwillingly, we offend others by saying no to pleasure trap foods. In this business lunch meeting scenario, we might lose a big deal because if we say no to the greasy food served in the restaurant by the other business part, he might feel offended and as a result not agree to the contract. And this happens just because of a piece of fried chicken and fries. Think about it. Isn't that crazy? But why is that so complicated? Again, because A, the dietary pleasure trap is an unnatural problem humans never faced before, and B, our ancestors lived in small groups of 50 to 150 people. Eating together was a big part of building alliances. When they ate the same thing as the rest of the tribe, it signaled to the other group that they come in peace as their ally and aren't coming to plunder or in any act of violence. So therefore, if you nowadays say no to that unhealthy food, you might offend the other part. Because this is built in us to do so. It's an instinct. Of course we can beat our genes in this matter. However, most people are not aware of the dietary pleasure trap in the modern world. And the YouTube algorithm is not pushing it either. So in this meeting scenario, you need to decide by running a cost-benefit analysis. Should I eat that food and increase my chances of industrialized diseases like obesity, diabetes, heart attacks, and many more, and then get the lucrative deal that pays the rent of my house? Over the decades, science has tried to figure out why we get sicker and more obese than ever before. One part they assume is trauma, childhood issues, stress, and many other curious explanations that are not proven. This is understandable because they would go against their instincts by doing so. Of course, they address our diet, but not to the degree it should be. They underestimate the impact of our food. The lizard part of the brain, the instinctual part, doesn't want to get rid of the dietary pleasure trap. It assumes that it increases our likelihood chances of survival and reproduction. Food and sex, or in the words of Dr. Goldhammer, sex and food for men. But it's like Dr. McDougall says, it's the food, and people like to hear good news about their bad habits. So everyone watching this video has to work super hard and diligently on their environment when it comes to food, which is challenging in itself. Because as I already mentioned, you go against your instincts by not eating super rich food. And on top of that, you need to make sure to be a pleasant member of the group while you decide to follow a healthy way of eating. Nobody will cheer you up. So you don't only need to figure out how to manage healthy eating in your day-to-day basis, but you also need to learn how to be sociable and part of the group with your way of eating. After practice, people can manage healthy eating, cooking, and whatever comes with it. This is something you have in your hands 100%, but you don't have other people in your hand. This is out of your control. You can control your family members, friends, and co-workers. This area is often overlooked as to why people fail to stay on a healthy diet long term. The social situations. In feeling the need to please others or not being kicked out of the group, people fall back into unhealthy eating habits. As a result, they gain the weight back, deal with health issues, followed by low self-esteem and much more. So the message of this video for you is to become a good member of the group while still following your healthy lifestyle simultaneously. Get confident by saying no to foods that sabotage your health. Don't only focus on following a healthy diet and lifestyle, but also become good at how to manage all your social situations that involve unhealthy food. If you make everybody else happy, everybody will be happy despite you. Get to know your personality and where you have a hard time saying no without offending others. I talk here from personal experience, and I want you to get confident. You're not alone, maybe in your social circle, but I work on a daily basis with people that experience exactly the same thing as you do. There is no single person in my social circle of family and friends that follows a healthy way of eating as I do. I've been doing this for almost a decade now. Until that day, I get comments on it on a regular basis. I'm honest. To some degree, I got used to it, but sometimes it annoys and hurts me. I'm an agreeable person and don't want to offend others, but luckily I'm equipped with enough rebellion chops to handle the pushy people. Therefore, it is not only worth it to invest in your health when it comes to the dietary pleasure trap, but it's also worth it to invest some time and thought into how to handle your social environment and how to become a thriving flower that finds its place in the world. It's more than the food itself that we need to pay attention to when we try to handle the dietary pleasure trap. It's a set of bits and pieces. It is a bit of work, I'm honest with you, but it is worth it 100%. It's one of the best investments you make for yourself. One book recommendation on this matter is When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Manuel J. Smith, or Harry Brown's book, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. If you're a high disagreeable introvert that avoids other people whenever possible, you might think, boring. Just say no, it's not that hard, just do your own thing. That's good for you, congratulations. One life problem less, but we are all different, and as social creatures, we can't live without any social interactions to a certain degree. So for all of those who deal with pushy people, I have a video on that topic linked in the show notes, but I'll do further ones that help you to get along without going along. Let me know in the comments what specific problems keep you in the dietary pleasure trap. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.